panel for your speaker.
If you could change one thing about our city government, what would that be?
That's a good question. One thing. Just offhand, I think our form of government is probably the proper form of government. It's not a strong mayor system. It's basically a figurehead type mayor. And I believe in a town our size, that is the best thing. So as far as changing the organizational structure, I wouldn't like that. One of the great changes I would love is to see everyone benefit from the wonderful opportunities we have here. Tourism, the mills, so that everyone is employed and happy, and that is what I change.
Yes.
You didn't want him to answer?
I don't want me to answer. I'm just going to go ahead and mimic Rodney King and say I just wish we could all get along. You know, we have such a diverse community. We have a lot of special interests and a lot of different interests. We're a mill town, a fishing town. We're a tourist destination. And sometimes those things conflict. And one of the things that I've done is I've created a website, airchilders.com, and I send out my positions usually 2 or 3 days. As a matter of fact, that's what I'll work on when I leave tonight. The agenda's out, and I will post it tonight or tomorrow morning sometime and explain to everybody how I intend to vote on the next upcoming issues and why. And I invite people to get involved in the process, and then I get feedback. And to date, I've got 2,061 comments over 3.5 years of people by asking them and creating an air of transparency. So it's a difficult question and a good question. Thank you very much.
My answer is pretty simple. How about a business-friendly and people-friendly city hall?
You all ready? Yeah. I'm running for office for that very question. I think the structure of the city government is just fine, but I think the way that it operates can be improved upon. I think there has to be far more fiscal accountability taken on by the commissioners. I think there's got to be far more financial disclosure, and I think we really need leadership and experience to do that. The very fact that this city runs on $15 or $16 million in total, the $80 million in enterprise funds and special funds and all the rest of it, it's kind of over here, pension funds, all that. We're running a 15, give or take, $1 million operating budget in the general fund. When I was at Rainier, I was in charge of a $100 million annual budget. Big business, but this doesn't have to be hard, and it can be open, and it can be accountable, and we can take more responsibility at the commission level.
If I could change one thing about city government right now, it would be to restore the public trust. I think there are so many people who have become disengaged in the process. If you come to any of the city commission meetings, you know that, because there are a few chairs that are occupied, the rest of the chamber is empty. I would love to get the community back involved. I would love people to feel like they can come to me and talk about anything and get it off their chest and know that I will respond to them. Because I go back to that evening where the vote for the strategic plan went ahead, and there are a lot of people in these chambers who spoke out and were passionate about how they spoke out and wanted a response from these 5 people sitting up here, and the response was 5 ayes, no nays. I want to restore public trust.
Mr. Boy, starting with Mr. Childers.
This one deals with police and fire. Nationally, within the state, police and fire union negotiations have taken place and such, and union contract negotiations with our police and fire unions is coming up shortly. What are your positions on contract concessions that must be made? And would the city hiring a professional negotiator be a wise investment for the taxpayers?
I don't know if it would be a wise investment or not. We do an awful lot of money hiring outside people, and we've got Mr. Zimbor, who has been very successful in gaining concessions from both the fire and the police department in these economic times. The UBC contract was recently ratified. It gave the union members a 3% increase. I did not support that. I do not support raises in the next 2 contract negotiations. But there are 5 of us, and all 5 of us have to be like-minded in order for something like that to happen.
I'd be in favor of hiring an outside negotiator. I think we need all the help we can with this, and you know, to be fair to both sides, I think that's the way we ought to go. And since I'm not privy to inside for the negotiations, I don't know a whole lot about those, about what contracts they've signed. But I think we could, that may be one of the few things we should hire somebody from the outside for.
Every company I've worked for that had union presence has a professional union negotiator. It's a whole different business. It's not something that when you're in business you spend a lot of time thinking about, because it only comes up every year or 2 or 3. You need a professional doing your negotiating, especially in times like this, because they're just better at it.
I agree. We do need a professional negotiator, again, for those same reasons. We don't have anybody, I don't think, who would be in a position that could know all the inside scoop, know how these deals are made, and we want somebody who can go in there and would be doing our work for us rather than going blindly into contract negotiations. I would trust somebody who does this for a living versus relying on somebody who's going on a wing and a prayer.
I've asked before about hiring an outside person to come in. Hours and hours and hours of negotiation with 3 different unions. From the information I've received, it is so incredibly expensive, it's awfully hard to justify the cost of doing this, even if you might get a better deal from the unions. But our city, I'm pleased, we are trying to move to a pay-for-performance type plan with our union, a huge major step. Next year we'll have 2 unions negotiating at the same time. We had hoped to have 3, but our fine men and women of the police department offered no pay increase if we extended the contract out 2 years. No cost of living increase, so we took them up on that offer.
Mr. Thomas.
There was a tax increase in this year's budget. With our current economic situation, do you think that was the right thing to do?
Well, I think we could have gone in a different direction. I think we could have cut some of the other budget. I mean, I know we got $125,000 in there for the boardwalk, $88,000 for the ball field. Items like that, I think we could have cut back. I think some of the salary increases, I know some of them were maybe built in, but I think we could have done that. I think we could have done a better job on the budget. There's a lot of money in there that I think we could have done better on that. So that would have been the only thing. You know, if we did that, I think we maybe could have reduced it and not have to increase it as much.
My feeling on that is that there should not have been a tax increase. My understanding was it was a millage increase on property, which if I get elected, I propose to roll back to 2008 levels. And given that will cost $250,000 in revenue, that can be offset easily by not borrowing $2.7 million and having principal and interest payments of $224,000. That pretty much covers that. So we could roll back the millage rate But no, I don't think we need to have tax increases at this time.
Again, we go back to taxpayers when we've spent more than we've taken in. I didn't agree with that. I also don't agree with, again, the franchise fee increases that will be coming down the road. How many people in this room got a raise this year? How many people are on Social Security? Did you get a COLA increase? No. We're doing more with less. Everybody's doing more with less. And I felt like, again, that was something that should not have been on the books, period.
Well, clearly I didn't want a tax increase this year. I'm up for re-election. I could have put my political hat on and said, we don't need this, but we have brought in about the same level of property taxes since 2004. This year, we needed to cry uncle. We were looking at laying off 14 city employees. That's a lot of people to lay off, and we still have to maintain our over 500 acres of parks, our 75 miles of streets. A lot of work goes into a city. As agonizing as that decision was, it was the right thing to do, and we're preparing for beach renourishment as well, an important thing for us to do as well.
As I mentioned earlier, I supported it for the beach renourishment. It is an election year for Mayor Stever and myself. Raising taxes is never popular, it's never easy, and we didn't take it lightly. When I got elected, I said I could make tough choices. Those tough choices included eliminating 40 positions, hiring management companies, or privatizing employees that used to be under our pension and health insurance costs. They're no longer there. And a 6% tax increase. But I thought it was prudent to do that now. Now, that being said, I don't anticipate, barring some natural disaster or spike in energy, I don't anticipate having to do that again for another 5